Top leaders in government and politicians have described ISIS as this huge threat. It started in 2014 as sort of a regional threat, and now it's been described as a global terrorist organization that threatens global stability. Having studied this group for the last couple of years, what is your take on that?
My take is that the menace of ISIS is growing, that the space in which they can operate is narrowing. And the frustration of ISIS getting, squeezed out of Syria and Iraq, and therefore trying to have acts elsewhere is worrisome. On the other hand, in this country, where we don't have returning foreign fighters like in Europe, the sense of what ISIS can actually direct and do is minimal. And so it's more of a self-identification process, which therefore is not really about blaming ISIS, guilty as they are, brutal as they are, but this has to be addressed at home on the level of why would individuals here want to commit suicide or put themselves in a situation where the cops shoot them because they've tried a terrorist attack or harm others. There has to be, I think, as the Scandinavian countries have done a tremendous amount of work trying to deal with troubled youth and redirect them, and they've had some large success at this. So I see it as a warning sign. But if you want to know what I think is happening in the world, I think the turn towards a concern for state actors is what the trends of the future is, and that how ISIS interacts with and doesn't interact with these state conflicts is really what we need to start looking at in the future.
That's actually very interesting to me, because you wonder when you talk especially about those that have been radicalized and joined the ISIS cause outside of the US, a lot of times that's been described as those countries in Europe being less concerned about integration. And so even second or third generation Muslim who had parents that were immigrants but were native born to those countries, they don't feel like part of society. Do they also sort of lack a national identity? And is that going to be a problem in this country?
The lack of a national identity is actually something that is laced through the database, both for al-Qaeda prosecutions and for ISIS cases in the United States. And it's one of the underplayed and not sufficiently understood phenomena, this seeming lack of there are a number of individuals who were born in one country, went to another country, say the UK, then came and settled here, who feel very displaced, not just by us, by their life. Now we're in a situation where we have refugees in the tens of thousands and more pouring out of the Middle East, and a world that has not decided what to do with this, but some sense of, well, we'll keep them here until they can go back or whatever it is. This is a prescription for chaos and trouble, because if national identity is really important to a sense of who you are, where you belong, where you can have a future, who you can trust to protect you, then having refugees who don't have that kind of identification is potentially problematic. And let's remember that displaced persons, refugee camps, refugee enclaves in the late 20th century gave birth to much of the frustrations that were part of the al-Qaeda narrative and the bin Laden narrative. And so we know that we need to figure out a way to make sure that refugees feel safe and taken care of. And the other side of that is, you take care of somebody who is lost and homeless in a national sense and doesn't know their future, and you actually give them a home, they're going to be loyal to you.